you. Next, we go to Mr. McKinley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I direct my comments to Dr. Moniz. I'm looking for you again on this, someplace on here. There we go. Listen, I've missed having you testify before us for the last few years. I've always enjoyed your insight into it. And listen, I gotta say, Doc, I agree with you that not including carbon capture in this bill does not make sense. It really doesn't. But since this bill, if I could direct my question to you, since this bill begins the transition of the federal fleet to electric vehicles by 2025, beginning in 2025, and hybrid fuels could be banned by 2050 if President Biden has his way. So let's talk a little bit about the federal fleet. It's about 650,000 vehicles. And according to the Journal of Power Sources and testimony we had a few weeks ago from Mark Mills of the Manhattan Institute, to acquire the critical minerals of lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, copper, manufacturers will need to excavate 250 tons of earth. 250 tons of earth to get enough materials just for one battery. So just imagine what that would be over 650,000 vehicles. I did some math on that, and so if we don't have available biofuels or hydrogen as an alternative, and we have to go to electric vehicles, we're talking about enough dump truck filled with dirt across for the federal fleet to go around the world, a convoy around the world twice, just to get the materials we need to build the batteries for our federal fleet. So I'm just wondering about, since the other nations are going to say, we're not doing this in our backyard, we're getting it out of Chile and Colombia and other nations all around the world. How long are they going to tolerate us taking all their raw materials and tearing up their hillsides? How long do you think they'll continue to say that's okay?
Well, Mr. McKinley, and it's good to see you again, indeed. It's a very important issue, this question of critical minerals and metals and the whole supply chain. There is no doubt that we need to reevaluate this. I mentioned in my remarks that we have to look at environmentally improved mining in the United States, because the critical minerals will probably go up by a factor of 10 to 100 in many cases, except that innovation will also come in. So on lithium, for example, we are seeing.
If I could, Doctor, and I'd like to get back. If you and I can have more of a conversation, I've got to slip in two more quick questions, one to you and one to O'Reilly. So let's go to the grid for a minute. The Boston Consulting Group said that if 15% of the vehicles are electric vehicles by 2030, that we'll have to have a 25% increase in our electric generating capacity. So if this mission is ultimately to get to 100% of electric vehicles, that means we're going to have 165% more power generated in America than we currently have today. I'm wondering, are we ever going to be ready for something like that? In deference with the time on it. So if I could switch over to O'Reilly on this.
Could I just note, Mr. McKinley, I don't understand those numbers. I don't agree with them. But
okay,
we can discuss later.
From one engineer to a scientist, you might be able to keep up. We'll see.
Right.
Okay. Okay, let's go to O'Reilly for a minute, please. So I want to switch to the jobs impact. I want to understand the refineries, because if what this purpose of this ultimate legislation that the administration is pushing by 2050 to ban all fossil fuel emissions of fossil fuels, what will happen to the jobs in the refinery-driven economies of Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and elsewhere? What will happen to those? What will happen to those jobs if we can't use gasoline or diesel fuel? O'Reilly?
Okay. Well, I appreciate your question. I can speculate and would agree with your concern.
I know it's not your field. You're an FCC.
It's not my field.
Just say what happens if we do this? What happens?
They're going to evaporate. They're actually going to evaporate. The jobs are not going to exist in critical states that are so important.
And that's why I want people to just slow down sometimes and think about the consequences of this. I know we're ultimately going to get to there, but to do this so quickly as we're doing right now, I don't know that we've thought about the consequences with it. So thank you very much. And Frank, I yield back to my chairman balance of whatever time I've got left, Frank.